Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Final Fantasy VII Remake Commentary. I like how the save bench has the little save icon from the save points in the original game.
I'm dumb for not realizing that sooner. Because it wasn't until like midway point through the game where I was like, oh, wait,
It's the inverted question mark.
yeah. I never understood what the save point was. It's a C, I guess, for checkpoint?
It's actually just, a random ass symbol. They did the same thing in...
Maybe a memory card?
Wait, Biggs, don't talk about the plan. If we talk about the plan, then that means it's not going to work. We have to slowly reveal the plan over time, and then that's how we know it will work.
Oh,
you
boy.
never watched a heist movie. Dude, jeez. Oh my god, do we get teenage even emo-er Cloud?
Yes.
Oh man, amazing.
He's less of an even emo-er Cloud and more a awkward teenager. Like, he's got energy, he's got some enthusiasm in the way he talks, but he's also very, he's portrayed as being awkward and shy, which is in line with the way younger Cloud has been portrayed up until now.
Yeah. I think he was bullied because of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, if I remember correctly, and I don't know if this is one of the things he's misremembering because he's delusional at the moment, spoilers, but I thought that he and Tifa, didn't talk.
What happened with young Cloud was that Tifa, after her mother died, wandered out into the mountains in a fit of depressed insanity, I guess, trying to find where her mother had gone based on some sort of story that the adults in this town tell their kids about what happens to dead people. Cloud went off to try and bring her back, but there was an accident on a bridge or something. I might be...
Yeah.
And they both fell, and Tifa was injured worse than Cloud was. Cloud just skinned his knees. But the adults in the town they misunderstood what happened, and Tifa's memory was damaged a bit by an injury to her head, so she couldn't set the record straight. So the adults thought Cloud had brought Tifa up into the mountains intentionally, and that she was injured because of him. As a result of that, Tifa's father, was very, very angry with Cloud and basically told him to stay the hell away.
But I thought that, Tifa didn't even, hang out with Cloud.
even before that, no, Tifa didn't really hang out with Cloud.
Yeah, so, that scene's new, right?
Well, because Tifa was already part of a pack.
Yeah, she was part of a clique.
Cloud was the odd one out, but I don't think Tifa was deliberately avoiding Cloud. It was just more like he was the oddball.
Yeah, he's the outcast. Just don't talk to him.
Yeah.
There's no ill will there. It's just he wasn't part of the group.
Oh, there was a scene earlier in the remake where she was trying to get him to come over and talk to them, but he wasn't doing it, probably because it happened after that whole incident.
Maybe.
But it's like they were aware of each other. Cloud obviously had feelings for young Tifa, and Tifa spoke to him.
Knew of his existence.
Tifa spoke to him amicably. They were on good terms. It was a small town, so even if you're not very familiar with someone, you know them.
Yeah, that's part of why I liked their relationship in the original game, because it wasn't the kind of tried and true childhood friend sort of situation. It was, they knew each other, I guess, but they weren't, close, they had kind of a weird, awkward relationship growing up, and, coming together later on in life sort of makes them realize what they had in common and whatnot.
Yeah.
Which I think is a more interesting take than just, oh, they were our childhood friendses, and now we love each other because destiny and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is basically every other anime.
Every single Tales of game has it.
Not just Tales of, it's in almost... The best improvement in Dragon Quest XI, and it's not actually the best improvement, was that your romance options are not just limited to the boring childhood friend character anymore. Thank Christ, because she's the worst one.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, they did do a decent enough job of making you care about that character before you left the opening village, but... Well...
she's fine. It's just literally every other option's better.
It's so vanilla by comparison.
Yeah.
Basically.
The fact that she stays in the opening village when you leave it at the start of the game, kind of hamstrings any potential that she might have had for further development later on. So
Yeah. And besides, the dog's more helpful in the first dungeon. Anyway, can I take the dog with me?
Yeah, I forgot that the dog was doing stuff like frickin' Earthbound or something, where it's not technically a part of your party, but it's still randomly helping out in battle anyway.
He'll bark at the enemies, and then the slime goes, "Ugh," and he's too scared to act for a turn. Good boy. Actually, no, the
Bitches,
dog's
man.
a girl. Good girl.
So, in any case, yeah, I'd say that Cloud and Tifa have a more interesting dynamic once you know what's going on with them. Like, at the beginning, it is implied that they were that childhood friend pair that is so common in anime writing, but...
Yeah, but they subvert it, which is why I thought it was really interesting. in the original game.
It's more grounded. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
It's not so lovey-dovey.
I mean, the fact that they have something in common is one thing, but the fact that they are also two of the very, very few survivors of the
You
Nibelheim
remember when our
incident
village
also
burned
helped.
down? Man, that was a trip.
Yeah, there was this there was just a white-haired pretty boy walking away through it all. It was kind of weird.
Do you remember when you got slashed by a 9-foot-long katana?
Yeah, I remember when that happened to me too, and then I chucked Sephiroth off the bridge.
What a Saturday.
Oh, damn it, missiles. They're shooting missiles at me.
Oh, we finally have Fira.
Yep. It has a much, much larger splash damage to its explosion, so it's...
Also a bit of a longer cast
Yeah.
time, which again, I know we went into this earlier in the commentary, but that was one thing that threw me off completely was, alright, I got Fear on Farag, I'm going to cast it. This is taking a long ass time.
I don't mind the idea of
No, because the thing that was I don't recall ever seeing that until Final Fantasy IV. I think 4 was the last Final Fantasy game to do that.
What, to make the cast time longer?
Higher cost spells, take longer.
Oh yeah, because after...
I mean, I don't mind the idea. It's more a matter of I think this game is a little too punishing if you get hit while trying to cast magic because it does damage, it uses your ATB, and it uses your MP because you're trying to cast it. I feel the MP shouldn't be a thing used until it actually gets cast.
So it actually gets
that's
cast,
fair
yeah.
enough, because like in the Trails series, if you try to cast a spell but it gets cancelled between the turn you try to cast it and the turn it goes off, you won't lose the MP. You'll...
Yeah, because I feel the punishment for doing it at the wrong time is already a thing by losing the ATB and taking damage
and taking a sucker
not being
punch
able
to the
cast-
face when it...
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like the losing the MP on top of it when I could really use it later is a bit
yeah,
overkill, I feel.
and the
regard.
game isn't super generous with how much MP you have to cast with. So yeah, I can see an argument for like maybe they should rebalance that a little in the next game. That having been said, I feel that the combat system does give you plenty of opportunity to cast the spells effectively if you're paying attention. One of the things that you might want to do, for example, is have someone who you're not in direct control of cast the spells, especially the third tier spells.
So the aggro goes to you and not the
because
casting.
the AI characters aren't as aggressive as the manual character is going to be.
Are there AI commands you can give them, like focus on healing or be defensive or don't?
Like behavior?
No.
Yeah.
No.
But you can decide their every move for them.
The only things that they'll do automatically without a direct command are, basic attacks. And they do a generally reasonably very good job of avoiding AoEs and blocking things that come their way.
Yeah. I don't think 7 Remake has dedicated AI options like Kingdom Hearts, where you can set it to.
If you want them to cast a spell, you have to be keeping an eye on the ATB gauge, and you have to give them the command yourself. If you want them to use their special character abilities, you have to manually switch over to them and use their special character abilities yourself. So, if you want every character to be being as efficient as possible in a team effort, you have to be switching between characters quite frequently, which is probably why this game spends so long with just 2 party members at the beginning of the game to sort of ease you into it. And then, when the second bombing mission happens, you have Tifa and Barret at the same time, and a nice long breather mission to get used to the idea of using 3 characters at once.
It's like the setup for the let's give these jerks a taste of their own medicine and use these cool devices. No, so I'm just gonna summon a god.
Okay, so
technology.
this would be a good time to talk about how summoning materia works, because it's actually like the best summoning mechanic that they've done since, I want to say, 10.
It's 15 done right.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be said. I mean, this game could be 15 done right in a lot of regards.
It's a little like the way Final Fantasy XII International handled it, but in Final Fantasy XII International, you also could just directly control the summon as if it were a character. So maybe that game still has a bit of an edge in that sense. I don't know. It always seemed a little difficult to pull off the summons at all in that game to me, though. Not to mention learning them was a headache. Okay, so here's the thing. The summons get summoned as these big-ass NPCs that, roam around the battlefield fighting automatically with an AI, but you also have a command menu for your summons. You have to spend your own ATB gauge to use their command abilities, though. And they usually have, like, 2 commands a piece.
Using them manually, they should say, because they will do it automatically too.
I've never seen them use their special attacks automatically.
Honestly, I might be misremembering, because normally when I summon a summon, I'm not paying attention to them. I'm just focusing on the attack.
Yeah, but it can be effective to use the special attacks, the special manual attacks you can have them do, because they can have a pretty strong effect on the stagger gauge. And they do some pretty decent damage. Once the summon runs out, the summon will automatically use its big fuck-off special attack, just like the old days.
Which I love.
Yeah, so they hover around the battlefield, harrying the enemy for a little while, and then they do the big-ass nuke attack. So, best of both worlds,
It's having children, run!
Oh, no.
Also, this guy has Shar-Aznavour syndrome. He has the same bike as everyone else, but it's red, so it's better.
There is another thing to keep in mind about the summons, though. The size of the creature you're summoning determines in what kind of battles you can summon that summon. So the smaller summons, like Cactuar or Galaxy Brain Chocobo.
Carbuncle, Chocobo,
yeah, those ones can be summoned in any battle at all because they're so small. Something like Ifrit can't usually be summoned in a regular battle with mooks unless the battle arena is large enough. Something huge, like Bahamut or Leviathan, can only appear in certain boss battles because the arena has to be large and open enough to accommodate such a large-ass monster. So it's a good idea generally to have a different size summon, if you can, attached to a different member of your party, so that you always have a summon that is compatible with a particular kind of battle. The bigger summons are more powerful, but they aren't going to come out to help you as often. You have to wait for that summon gauge to appear in the battle for them to appear at all. So, yeah, that's a thing. Anyway, rival fight.
Just as fast as I ever was.
Nice little detail. I like how it sort of is the same one that Zach was using.
Yeah,
he does the rival thing of, I'm gonna heal you so we have the even fight.
Thank you, Rubicon. You're my favorite elemental fiend.
Anyway, Rosh here.
Meanwhile, Gomez is just sitting outside like, what the fuck are you?
Fuck are you doing?
Rosh here fights like a standard Ubermook. He is weak to fire, just like the Shinra soldiers. He does cast lightning magic from time to time, so you do have to watch out for that. But because he attacks primarily by melee, Punisher mode's counter stance is your best friend in this fight.
Yeah, I was like, but nope, because he is human, he falls to Punisher mode.
I do like the standard issue Crisis Core soldier weapon, though. It's interesting that this is the sword that he uses because, well, all the soldiers use the Crisis Core sword. It's interesting that they made that choice because it's the one design element in the game where they favor the compilation over what the original game's design was like. Because when you fought the soldier thirds in random battles, they had these weird lance-looking things that were kind of lame. They don't bring those back at all. In fact, I don't even think they bring back the Soldier Third's uniform design either. No. What the hell are you doing trying to do an EI strike with a broadsword, you asshole? That's not...
it looks cooler. That's exactly the only mindset that's going into this man. At any point.
Nice finish.
My heart.
This is one of those battles where the enemy is aggressive enough that if you're still not used to the combat system, you're probably going to take a beating. But if you know what you're doing, it's actually pretty easy to kill him pretty fast. So, as I demonstrated, his health goes down pretty darn quick if you're making use of that Fear spell whenever you see an opening to get the casting time through, and if you're paying attention to that stagger bar. He goes down like a sack of bricks.
I thought this was going to be like a two-parter where he then wields the motorcycle as a blade.
Yeah, it turns into the weapon from DMC5 that Dante has.
Yeah.
No, he just does a DMC3 style where he's wielding the motorcycle as a set of nunchucks until it just explodes in his hands. There's a cutscene in DMC3 where Dante does that while riding up the tower wall, no less. And then when he lands on the platform he's trying to get to and strikes a pose, the motorcycle explodes behind him and he's just standing there, Looney Tunes, holding a set of disembodied handlebars.
Please, sir, you're on our team.
Quit team killing US.
So, yeah, we're sequel baiting for another fight with him in the second part.
Is that all he does in the game?
Yeah, he disappears after this.
I wouldn't be surprised if the next time he pops up is in Junin, to be honest.
What's Junin?
Junin is the big town with the cannon pointing out at the sea.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
what the hell? Jesus Christ, what's wrong with this man?
Have children available on source now. What an asshole.
So anyway, we were fighting, right? Yeah.
I like how the pre-programmed robot actually knew to wait until he was gone to start firing. Maybe the robots are programmed to defer to members of Soldier, I don't know. That would explain a lot.
That is something I wasn't expecting.
Oh yeah, the appearance of the main Avalanche branch.
Which is something, if you only played the original game, you had no clue about.
Yeah. In the original game, it was just the 5 people that you saw down in Seven Heaven's basement. Here we have some references to a spin-off that we never got in the West.
Wait, are they the ones who are helping us right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
The
Okay.
main Avalanche branch, the more militarized but somehow less extreme branch of Avalanche, is from Before Crisis, the game where you play as members of the Turks. And that was a mobile-only game. I think there might have been a PSP version at some point. I don't know.
No, I think it never left mobile.
Yeah. In any case, it was Japan only, and they really should do a remake or a port of that at some point because it's kind of important, and it's also one of the better entries in the whole compilation of Final Fantasy VII, which is why I say most of the bad stuff from it came after the original game rather than being prequels. There is one other reference to Before Crisis that fans in the West might be familiar with, and that's Cisne, who was one of the playable characters in Before Crisis. Although there, I think she was only known as Shuriken, because that was the weapon she was using.
Well, that's weird because I remember a bit of dialogue in Crisis Core where Zack calls her Cisne and she retorts, "That's not my name." And like I wasn't sure. All right, is she talking about? Is there a third name, or is she talking about Shuriken?
I don't know. She might be talking about whatever her name was before she joined the Turks. I don't know. I don't know enough about Before Crisis to really say if it ever goes into that. I just know that it's a damn interesting entry in the larger Final Fantasy VII story, but we never got to experience it.
Well, again, that's what makes the whole idea of what they're doing with this remake series so interesting, because that is it's their chance to incorporate those ideas and concepts into the mainline story while making it all work out.
Oh yeah.
You know, for as disappointed as I am with this not being a one-to-one recreation of the original game, I can't help but think that the idea going forward is so fascinating.
They also opened the door to a lot more spin-offs that can potentially play around with story concepts in ways that they couldn't if they were sticking to the timeline of the original game. Like,
Compilation of Final Fantasy VII
we
Plus.
could have a Crisis Core 2 now.
I mean, we could, yes.
Chrysler Core.
Crisis Core.
Crisis Core.
Crisis Core 2, Crisis Core.
Plus Alpha.
Oh God.
Live free or die hard.
I feel like a console Crisis Core game in this style would be amazing, though. Because, like, the original Crisis Core is good, but it's also confined by the hardware of the PSP, and the formula it was going to be strictly portable, because all the missions are really short.
Crisis Core for Switch would do really well.
It might, yeah.
They wouldn't even have to do anything. They could just port it.
Yeah, it's just straight port.
Well, if they were going to do that, they would make it available for the goddamn PS TV. It's not available for the PS TV, and that annoys me. There is no digital release of Crisis Core at all. You have to get a physical UMD, which means you have to have a PSP to play it.
It's been a minute.
I remember. I like Cloud's smirk here at this point.
That was a gunshot.
I like.
Like, no, I hate fun.
I like that. That was good.
I kick babies when no one's looking.
It does. Scenes like these give you a sense that these three have been together for a long time. They've established a strong sense of camaraderie with each other. They're ragging each other. They're having fun with each other. They have these ambient conversations that make it clear that they all know each other's quirks and are not afraid to twist the knife a little about them. It's that sense.
Even if you did get shot.
Yeah,
in the ass.
it's that kind of teasing between characters that gives you a sense that characters have had a long time friendship going. Shinra should give their soldiers helmets that don't block out their peripheral vision entirely. I don't know why the 3-lens goggles with a monitor on the inside of the helmet was the design they went with, but I don't know. Maybe they just realized that everyone who was signing up to join their army was just a bunch of really enthusiastic first-person shooter fans, and they figured three-dimensional vision and depth perception and peripheral vision was a little too much for them to process. This pair of NPCs off to the side of the road, the old woman beating the soldier with a broom. This is one of the best moments in the game.
Alright, well, I was gonna say be as inconspicuous as possible. Then the old lady with the broom made me have second guess. I think we'll blend in just fine.
It's Wu Chai, isn't it? I'll teach him to mess with Midgar. I think the
Yeah, you show him.
the old lady talks. Her dialogue strongly implies that she was a veteran in the war herself, or in some prior war. And that's just a really funny image. Some old lady with a broom on the side of the street, talking like she was a big ass hero in a war some 50 or 60 years before. And never lost the energy for it.
Let's not scoff at the idea of her using a broom as a weapon, because this game literally has a bat with nails on it. So, like, joke weapons are
Wasn't Aerith's joke weapon a parasol?
No, a parasol was legitimately. No. Sid had the mop.
Sid had the mop.
I'm trying to think. What was Aerith's? It might have been the umbrella. No, because the umbrella was legitimately like Aerith's strongest weapon physically. Like it wasn't.
I think that might have been part of the joke.
Yeah.
Hey, free materia.
It's a revival materia too, which is very useful.
Yeah, but it takes forever to level up.
Yeah, it does. It really does. I mean,
You see, every time you go to this menu for a second, I think you're going to the PlayStation menu because the color scheme's so simple.
Yeah.
well, it was always blue in the original game. It's just more modern blue now, rather than just being blue gradient with white borders now. I do miss having the option to recolor it, though.
Yeah, true. The joke weapons was Cloud was the nail bat. Barrett was rocket punch, basically just a box
Wait,
of
that was a joke weapon?
That was a joke
That
weapon,
weapon's legitimately good.
What do you mean half fake?
Aerith was the work. Not Aerith. Tifa's was the work glove. But I guess it's just the little white glove.
Gardening gloves.
Aerith was the umbrella. Red 13's was the hairpin. Was like, but you never saw his weapons anyway, so it's kind of annoying. I remember Yuffie's. Yuffie's the super happy fun ball, and you don't taunt super happy fun ball.
Waka before
Kasef was
Waka.
Kasef was the trumpet shell.
For this part of the game, we only have one joke weapon, and that's the nail bat. But the thing about the nail bat is it changes up Cloud's moveset so that he does like home run swings and stuff. So I wonder if they're going to introduce the other joke weapons as the series goes along and do similar things with them. That would be fun.
Oh man, I love Top Gun. Like legit, when I first heard this theme, I was like, "This is fucking Top Gun."
I really, really like this sequence. It's not vital at all. It does add another little dose of energy to the Avalanche characters, but it's also just eye candy having them parachute down from the top plate down into the slums. It's frickin' beautiful, man. It's also funny that Cloud gets stuck with the fat guy.
I ain't your friend, buddy. Cause I'm free falling.
It's also interesting that they, just for this one scene, have Cloud strap his sword to a completely different part of him, just so that it's not clipping through the guy.
It'd be kind of problematic if it was anywhere else.
Yeah. It's just because we're in high detail live action mode, where we can't just have the sword disappear and have everything that a character is supposed to be holding be in hammer space. So they have to start paying attention to where the weapon is on Cloud's body in every cutscene. But they're still not committed enough to that to give it a sheath. So, or to even explain how it sticks to his back without one. Like, they could do some sort of magic magnet thing on his back, but they never really even bother with that.
You sure about that, Jesse?
Even if you never played the original 7,
You know
that's
that,
the point where it's
that's
like,
a red
oh, they're
flag.
dead.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Wave your death flag harder, Jesse.
No, seriously, we're losing altitude.
It's unfortunate because we actually get a sense for how she dies in this game rather than just stumbling on her on her body on the way up the tower, and man, my heart hurts. We couldn't quite animate them taking the parachutes off, though.
No.
After all, I'm only a little sore.
Oh well.
Man, these disintegrating parachutes are really handy for cleanup.
Aw, thanks, bro.
I'm not your bro, guy.
God, Cloud, you're such a tsundere.
Think Jesse
No,
Yes.
that was a legitimately creepy gesture on Wedge's part. I would have cringed back too. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, hi, Chadley.
You literally never move from the spot, do you?
Oh, thank God.
Sure he does when the plot advances and he needs to meet you in another town.
Yeah, well, yeah, but he doesn't walk; he teleports.
Chadley is the one odd note in this remake story universe, in that he's like an android or something, developed by Shinra, who's...
Is he an android? Or
Yeah.
I thought he was
Yeah,
just-
he explains it later on.
If you do all of this stuff, he explains it.
Okay.
So he's a bit out of sync with the rest of the classic Final Fantasy VII universe, in that he's the kind of thing you would expect to see in the Dirge of Cerberus chunk of
He
the series.
sounds like something that makes more sense in 13 or something.
Yeah, he kind of does.
he worries, I worry.
In fact, he kind of looks like a 13 character now that I'm thinking about it. Ugh.
He kind of looks like Hope
Yeah,
with a
because I didn't think
monocle.
about it. Because seven always had advanced robots.
He looks like Hope with a monocle. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he kind of does. I mean, I do like Final Fantasy XIII's character design on the whole. It's one of the things that it actually got right.
Trying to make it big on stage.
So it's not exactly a
It's
complaint.
fine.
It's just a little. It's just a little weird set against the backdrop of the rest of the stuff in this game. Like stylistically, they come from different places. So, like both of those places might be interesting places, but they're definitely different places.
One more thing, bro.
The character designs in Final Fantasy VII had a certain simplicity to them, I guess I should say, where the designs were clearly had to be made to work in work under limited graphics, and the details that they were given reflected that. And in order to update them to this game's graphics engine, they actually had to add quite a bit to a lot of them. But Chadley is like the one character in this game who is entirely designed from scratch for the remake. It kind of shows.
These little guys are on guard duty.
What the hell?
The cats look so weird in this game.
Yeah, they have the uncanny valley of being too realistic to be cartoony, but they're not hitting that realistic level enough to be believable.
They're being a little bit too expressive in the face to be real cats, to be honest. Like, just a little bit.
It's okay.
Like, the thing about animals is that, like, their expressions, like, they can be expressive, but their expressions aren't meant to convey the same sort of things under the same sort of contexts that human expressions are. So when you do an animal that's animated in a story, and its face is meant to convey certain things to the audience, the result is often that the cat seems a little bit too human to be a cat, for example.
Yeah, why would a cat express human emotion?
Well, it's more like, why would the cat be so instantly understandable to a human in that context? So, it's like the cat's expressions are usually, any animal's expressions usually will come off as kind of random, because they're not seeing the world the same way you are at that given point in time, so their feelings are going to be completely different and probably a lot more primitive. It's a little difficult to capture that intentionally in a story, though. So, when the cat is meant to weird you out, the cat is weirding you out on purpose. I think Uncanny Valley is
Jesus Christ,
the wrong term.
Jesse, you're laying it on really thick there.
She is.
Jesse, there are like 3 flags with skulls and crossbones hanging behind you right now. I'm gonna have to ask you to stop.
Really? You will? I make a mean pizza, I'll have you know. Marsh, loose, black millie, red jelly. I use only the best ingredients.
Well, the best ingredients you can get down here anyway.
Sounds like I like that pizza.
Never heard of any of that stuff.
Oh, you are so adorable. You know that? You just leave everything.
Sees a 4th flag unfurling behind her.
I like how Jessie is just blatantly teasing Cloud here. I think she realized at the last moment that Cloud might not be savvy enough to realize she was teasing her, which is probably why she popped out to make sure he knew. But
It also, a lot of times that's also something of a coping mechanism for the person doing it to say, I'm testing the waters, but I don't want to commit to it until I know how you feel.
well, Jessie's just that kind of playful personality in the remake.
Yeah.
She wasn't fleshed out enough to see that in the original game. Like, she flirted with Cloud, but it was obvious that she was genuinely flirting with Cloud and not just playing with him. Here it's a mix of both. Why? Okay, Biggs, why are you sweeping the road in front of your house? It's
Look at all this
it's
dirt.
literally just dirt. There's nothing to sweep. There's nothing to clean up.
I suppose the top stuff that goes into the house.
Well, he's not sweeping that
you
though.
pick 'em.
He's sweeping the dirt. He's literally sweeping the.
There's not even. There's not even. A
I
dustbin.
realize.
Can't have dirty garbage.
I realize that this is a common image in Japanese pop culture because shopkeepers and homeowners will indeed sweep the street in front of their houses because they consider keeping the streets clean really important over there. But look at him. He's literally sweeping dirt. That dirt. We need to clean up the dirt.
Inconspicuous wet big.
You're gonna make that dirt road shine.
That dirt ain't gonna be less dirty on itself.
Okay, well. So, that's that mission done. Thankfully.
Oh, you can still equip Tifa even though she's not here.
Yeah. Anyone with those arrows next to their name means they're not in the party, but you can still do stuff with them if you need to get like their materia off of them or something.
You could do that in the original game too, to a point, but it was sort of buried in a menu that you wouldn't immediately know was there. So
Yeah. You have to go to the arrange part of the materia to go to that specifically. Yeah.
yeah, it was useful because if you happen to have more than one party member with similar materia slot arrangements, you could just swap their setups with a click of a button. So one of the common inconveniences people encounter while playing Final Fantasy VII actually did have an answer to it. It just wasn't as noticeable as in modern games.
I don't know why the game gives you a generic rest option. There's nothing you can do in this version of the town until you go to sleep.
I think it's always loaded to have that in during the daytime too.
Yeah, so you can heal up.
In the daytime, that makes sense, but just why is it programmed to have that instance of it when there's literally nothing you can do here? But whatever.
Maybe so that you could heal and then walk around if you
I
wanted.
think you can go out and fight monsters now if you want, but I'm not sure. Well, in any case, we will see what happens in the morning next time in the Final Fantasy VII Remake playthrough, where things are absolutely going to go exactly as planned and aren't going to diverge from the canon timeline at all.
All according to Cake.